When an executive visibly falls apart, organizations know exactly how to react. They intervene. They get them help. That is not the crisis you need to worry about. Look at this dual-axis chart. The top line shows a flawless, steady performance trend, but underneath it is a hidden retention curve, dropping straight to 40. The leader is over-delivering on every metric, yet privately suffocating. This illustration breaks down the two distinct states of executive function, endurance versus alignment. Focusing on the knight, we see the illusion of armor. The public perceives an unbreakable exterior. In reality, energy is constantly leaking out, and meaning has faded into sheer obligation. Boardrooms routinely mistake this visible competence for systemic health. They assume that if the top-line numbers are good, the leader is fine. Quiet cracking represents a structural fatigue of the self, a state that remains untouched by standard vacation time or workload adjustments. The reason top-tier operators break is that they eventually stop leading just their teams. They start leading their reputations. They become known as the fixer, the rock, the one who handles everything. Over time, that professional brand forms an impenetrable cage. When your entire value to the organization is built on being unbreakable, you lose the ability to admit any strain. Look at the ropes binding this figure. They are labeled overfunctioning and identity suffocation. To maintain the illusion of absolute operational control, they overcompensate. They absorb the emotional weight of their entire division, dropping their defensive shield to appease others. We need to be clear about this behavior in the C-suite. People-pleasing at the executive level functions as fear disguised as operational necessity, and your nervous system keeps the receipt. Before outward exhaustion ever shows, deep resentment will poison the system. You cannot diagnose this by waiting for a quarterly review. The metrics are strictly observational. We track this through behavioral drift. The first indicator is delayed responses. When an executive delays routine emails, it indicates an unbearable cognitive load. Next, watch for acidic humor. Genuine enthusiasm rots away, replaced by a creeping cynicism. From there, creative paralysis sets in. The leader stops placing bold bets entirely. To conserve whatever energy they have left, they multiply safe, defensive decisions. This inevitably leads to control hoarding. The delegation radius shrinks, and anxiety-driven micromanagement takes over. Finally, leadership becomes transactional. Deep coaching conversations vanished, replaced by flat operational exchanges. Under these conditions, the department is not technically broken, but the leader is merely managing maintenance.
The momentum is dead. A weekend off will not repair a structural fracture. Reversing this requires a systemic intervention. The mechanism for moving from endurance to alignment is the S.E.L.F protocol. The S stands for separate role from identity. To cure identity suffocation, a leader must reconnect with core traits outside their corporate title. E stands for eliminate silent over-responsibility. Think of delegation as the strategic redistribution of organizational oxygen. Next, look at L, limit exposure to emotional drain. Audit your calendar to protect your emotional perimeter from relationships that exist purely for maintenance. Finally, F is for fuel before you fix. Recovery blocks are non-negotiable capital investments. They must be scheduled with the exact same rigor as a board meeting. Emotional intelligence at the executive level involves recognizing and stopping your own self-betrayal. Theory is useless without daily execution.
You have to install hard boundaries to maintain the protocol. The first is the 10-minute decompression rule. After your final high-stakes meeting, you must force your nervous system out of defense mode before re-entering your personal life. Walk, breathe, but do not open your inbox. The second is the 2-decision limit. When you reach a state of emotional depletion, never make more than 2 major strategic decisions. The final rule is the honest conversation mandate. Once a week, speak one unedited truth to a peer or partner. Suppressing truth is the primary driver of quiet cracking. These boundaries serve as essential armor, protecting the executive's risk assessment architecture from total collapse. Remove the title, the applause, and the validation for a moment. Ask yourself, would you still want your role? Moving past the fractured state, this illustration shows what the alternative looks like, the aligned leader shift. Here, the executive carries the S.E.L. protocol shield and looks toward a clear direction. At the center is authenticity. If you hesitated when answering that question about your role, do not panic. That hesitation is vital data demanding an immediate realignment. Leadership historically demanded enduring pain. Its future depends on internal alignment. High capacity without boundaries is highly efficient self-betrayal, and your title cannot protect you from it. This framework provides a blueprint for internal organizational workshops, the line to protect collective energy. The architect of this framework is Sohail Ahmed, a LinkedIn top voice and the founder of mentorsohail, Inc. His methodology is forged from real friction. After experiencing a severe personal loss just before his exams, Ahmed ground his way through call centers, building the deep resilience he now teaches. His philosophy focuses on extracting human potential by stepping out of comfort zones and balancing high self-esteem with deep human empathy. To master the psychology of high-performance leadership, subscribe to the Confidence Compass newsletter on LinkedIn. Organizations should bring Sohail in to deliver this structural correction to their teams before these silent fractures turn into permanent exits. The only question left is simple. Are you leading, or are you quietly cracking?